Hey everyone, and welcome. We're going to jump right in and review all the key themes and vocabulary from your lesson on travel and journeys. We'll explore some absolutely incredible adventures, the common problems that can pop up, and of course, all the essential words you need to talk about them. All right, so here's our game plan for this review. Think of it as our roadmap. We're going to kick things off with a big question. Why do we even travel? Then we'll dive into this really amazing story, brush up on some key vocab, talk about what happens when things don't go as planned, and then we'll wrap up by thinking about your next big adventure. Okay, first up, let's start with a really big question, one you've already talked about. Why do we travel? I mean, really, what is it that motivates us to pack our bags and just head out into the world? So take a second and think about your perfect trip. Maybe it looks something like this, a classic road trip. But what really matters to you? Is it all about the destination, or is it more about how you get there? Maybe it's something totally different. And as you've been learning, it's these kinds of things that really shape our whole travel experience. Like, are you someone who's all about incredible scenery? Or do you just want to get there fast? Is comfort king, or are you trying to save some money? And a big one, who you travel with, right? Your company. That can make or break a trip. These are the kinds of choices that really define what a journey is all about. Okay, now we're going to shift gears and talk about an amazing story. I mean, this is a truly epic journey, one that takes the whole idea of travel to a completely different level. We're going to talk about a guy named David Cornthwaite. So, what was his motivation? Well, here it is. It wasn't for fame, it wasn't for money. He was just kind of bored. He was disillusioned with his job as a graphic designer, and he was just looking for something new, a real challenge. Turns out, the only part of his day he really liked was his skateboard ride to work. And that little spark grew into this incredible, massive idea. And this is such a great example of how epic journeys don't have to be, normal. People find adventure in the craziest ways, like crossing an entire country on a lawnmower or literally walking to the North and South Poles. David's choice? Yeah, it was right up there with them in terms of being unique. So what was this big, unique challenge he set for himself? Get this. He literally just looked at a map of Australia, pointed to Perth on one coast and Brisbane on the other, and pretty much just said, yep, that looks good. And his mode of transport for this massive undertaking? A skateboard. Just a skateboard. And let's just put that distance into perspective for a second. We're talking about 5,800 kilometers. That is a huge distance to drive in a car. Now imagine doing that on a skateboard. It's just mind-blowing. And you better believe this journey was packed with unbelievable challenges. I mean, he was actually blown right off his board by the wind from these massive trucks. He was in constant pain from blisters. He was skating in over 40-degree heat. He went through 13 pairs of shoes. And to top it all off, he had a pretty bad fall just 3 kilometers from the finish line. Can you imagine? But here's the thing, even with all that pain, all those challenges, the key takeaway is that he just kept going. He never gave up. He even said there were times he thought, this is ridiculous, but the idea of quitting, it never even crossed his mind. And in the end, he completely smashed the world record. So David's amazing story isn't just inspiring, it also gives us some really fantastic vocabulary to work with. These are words and phrases that are super useful for talking about any kind of trip, not just an epic one. Let's go over a couple of the key ones. First up, the phrase, epic journey. So what does that really mean? It's not just, a long vacation. It's something that's really long, really challenging, and totally memorable. David's 5,800-kilometer skateboard trip, that is the absolute definition of an epic journey. All right, next we have articulated lorry. You might also hear these called road trains, especially in Australia. And these were those massive trucks we talked about, the ones creating so much wind they could literally knock David right off his board. And the last one for now is motivational speech. This is actually what David planned to do after his journey was over. He wanted to take this insane experience he had and use it to inspire other people. Give these talks to help them take on their own challenges. Okay, so let's be real. Most of our trips aren't going to be world record skateboarding journeys, right? But that definitely doesn't mean they're always perfect. Things can go wrong, and they often do, even on a simple trip. So let's talk about some of those more common problems we all run into. I mean, have you ever had one of those trips where it feels like everything is going wrong? Yeah, it happens to all of us. And here are some perfect examples, probably some you'll recognize from your listening exercise.
Things like getting a flat tire, running out of petrol, having your ferry crossing cancelled, or the driver getting lost. We've all been there, right? Or that horrible feeling when you miss your stop or you can't find your tickets. These are those real-life travel headaches.
All right, so we've looked at why we travel, we've talked about a truly epic adventure, and we've covered some of the bumps in the road we might face. So now let's turn our attention to the future. Let's think about our own plans. It doesn't matter if it's a small weekend getaway to a city nearby or some huge adventure across a continent. Every single journey, no matter how big or small, it always starts the same way, with an idea. A little bit of a dream, and then a plan. Just thinking about where we could go gets us excited for new experiences. And that brings us right back to where we started, to that big, final question, the title of your whole lesson. After hearing these stories and going over all this vocabulary, where are you heading to? And remember, it doesn't have to be a 5,800-kilometer skateboard ride. It could be as simple as a walk in a park you've never been to, a train ride to a new town, or, a flight to a whole new country. So, what's it going to be? What's your next journey?